everyone, I'm Barbara Beck, host of Welcome Home here on Good Life 45. For several months now, we've been taking really compelling stories and making special 30-minute shows out of them. We love that God works in such powerful ways, and to be able to show you these stories helps us honor God and really encourage all of us in our walks. Today's story is one which I pray will be just that for you. Maria Greenfield is a stage 4 cancer survivor, but her journey is not without its challenges, including that of pain management. She's very candidly and transparently given us a glimpse of her very difficult decision to use cannabis oil, not legal in the state of Florida, to help her with what might be debilitating pain without it. She's a strong Christian with a story to tell. I hope you enjoy her life-changing story. You know, sometimes God brings people across our paths who have stories to tell that are truly inspirational and life-changing, and God has done just that today for us in Maria Mills Greenfield. She's here today to tell us a little bit about her incredibly challenging journey where she's trusting God, but she's also stepping outside the box and doing some things that are going to maybe kind of rock your world a little bit when you hear her story. But she's a cancer survivor, and Maria is here today to tell us about how God has shown her another little alternative way to aid in the healing and maybe even prolong your life, right, Maria?
Absolutely.
Welcome to Welcome Home,
Thank you
first of all.
so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here with us today. You have an incredible story to tell.
I do.
So I want you to kind of first tell us what your diagnosis is, and then we'll go backwards from there.
Okay, first of all, 40 months ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. Right out of the gate, it was stage 4 terminal, and it had already spread to my bones, my lymph nodes, my lung, my liver, and my esophagus. So I was dealt quite the blow, and I also have an adult handicapped son. So immediately my thoughts turned to him, and how am I going to care for him and go through this battle?
Right.
So
well, they told you that you were really pretty much only expected to live maybe 6 months, right?
They told me the possibility existed that my life expectancy could be as little as 6 to 8 months.
And that has been how many?
40 months.
40 months since that diagnosis. Now, are you walking in pain every day?
I do have some pain, but it is manageable. And it is, luckily, and praise God, it is manageable without heavy narcotics.
And you were telling me that they wouldn't even give you chemotherapy, which happened with my friend Chris Ebert, great Cloud contributor. Chris, they told her that her stage 4 breast cancer was so far along that really chemo was not exactly an option. They told you that as well.
They did, and they really, when you're so far along like this, there's no need to put us through so much suffering to go through the chemo that there really is not going to probably
or the mastectomy either, right?
Exactly. No mastectomy, no radiation.
Okay. So you're living on borrowed time.
Right. None of the conventional treatments would be viable for me or would help me. And so several years ago, I had started research on autism with my son because he has to take several very strong narcotics to control his outbursts and things. And I just felt like there should be a more natural way, and that God gave us all these things that we need, and that surely there's something better. And so I started researching then and came across, surprisingly, an article about autism and cannabis and how it was saving a young boy in California where it's legal.
So let's be sure our viewers understand that cannabis is another name for?
Marijuana.
Marijuana.
Yes, and it is illegal here.
Right.
And it was legal there, and so I read and I thought, oh boy, it'd be great if I could try that with him, but of course I can't, and I still can't because it's illegal. But I did a lot of research back then about it, and during my research, I came across a lot of information of how it was helping other patients, people with like Crohn's disease, glaucoma, cancer.
When you say helping patients, are you talking about helping them with their pain or helping them get better?
Helping them with a lot of different things, including getting better, and actually it has curative properties. So it's a palliative care, and it is also a curative care in many cases. I actually feel like if I I had been caught a little bit sooner, that it actually could have possibly even cured my cancer. There have been case studies where it has actually cured cancer, especially things like prostate cancer. It's shown very promising signs with that, and skin cancer. But
so when did you start taking cannabis
oil? I had researched it, so I knew a little bit about it and its use in cancer patients. The day I was told that I had stage 4 metastatic breast cancer and that I would not be offered chemotherapy, I immediately asked my oncologist right then. I asked her how did she feel about cannabis oil, and had she ever even heard of it. And she embraced the idea. And she told me if she thought that if I thought I could get it, to go for it.
This is your Florida physician that will remain unnamed.
Yes.
But she's telling you if you can find cannabis, marijuana.
That she had other patients currently using cannabis, and it was helping them immensely.
Helping them with pain, curative.
With appetite, helping them with anxiety, helping them with weight, you know, fluctuation in weight. And so it's just, it has so many curative and palliative properties. And the best part of all is God put it here for us. It's a God-given plant. And there's never been one death recorded ever from the use of cannabis. I am currently prescribed 20 medications. Every single medication that I am prescribed carries with it the side effect of the possibility of death.
Except for?
Cannabis.
Cannabis. So as a Christian, I know you love the Lord deeply and have a strong faith.
Heart.
How did you feel about going to, and you had to go to another state in order to get this illegal drug, illegal in Florida. You go to another state, you bring it back here, and you actually take it illegally.
Yes, I do. And
how do you reconcile that?
It's very hard. And I have talked to God quite a bit about it, and God has led me to a lot of scripture, and I can even share some scripture with you. For instance, in Psalm 104:14, he tells us that he causes the grass to grow for the cattle and herb for the service of man.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and also Revelation 22, the leaves of the tree were the healing of the nations. I just truly feel like God didn't get it wrong. I don't think that all the scientists are necessarily getting it wrong either. I just feel like that for me, in my situation, and for many others like me, this is a much better alternative than the strong and heavy narcotics. I just had a procedure done Friday, a liver biopsy. And of course, to do that, they had to give me some strong medications. And it was terrible. It makes you feel like not yourself. And I can't say that I did not have any side effects from the cannabis oil in the beginning.
What sort of side effects?
Euphoria. A little bit of euphoria. And
is that a bad thing?
Exactly. Exactly. But that was a side effect. I did have an increase in hunger. And so I did sort of have to control that a little bit. But once I used it for about 2 weeks, it evened out like it would with any other medication. And I can drive, I function, I care for my son, I brush his teeth every morning, I tie his shoes. He goes to a sheltered workshop every day. I'm very active in my church, Church Together, Pastor Andy Searles.
Do they know that you're taking cannabis oil?
They do. I want my church family to love me and embrace me for who I am, and I don't think I would be comfortable at a church who didn't love me for who I am.
Do you think that your personality is any different now than it was or is when you were not taking cannabis oil?
If anything, I think I might be a little happier because I feel like I'm going to live now. And I feel like I have a chance at life, and I'm thriving. You could actually go, I'm sure, to your doctor and say, I'm having some problems, and I'm having some anxiety, and I feel like I'm having some small panic attacks. Is there a pill you could give me to help me with this? I could almost guarantee you that your doctor would say, absolutely, let me write you this prescription. And I can almost absolutely guarantee you that that prescription is going to be a deadly drug if overdosed on, or if taken incorrectly, or for whatever reason, if misused. I contend that if you feel like you need help, that you should get help.
Yeah.
And if you feel like you need help, I think that cannabis is a much safer option than Xanax.
Unless it's maybe you, and I don't know, Marie, I don't know that much about it. I've heard the attorney, I've heard the doctor, I've read a lot of research, and there's just still a lot of confusion.
It is.
But what happens when it is, because you're going to get people who are just interested in the drug for the euphoria.
Absolutely.
I mean, euphoria sounds like a pretty nice place to go.
Absolutely.
So, you know.
This is where we need to call on God.
Okay.
God should be our euphoria.
Right.
God should be our euphoria. Yeah. So I am, it's very hard for me. I'm not totally against
legalizing
marijuana for recreational use. I'm not totally against that, simply because I know how bad alcohol is, and it's legal, and I can't even understand that, because it kills so many people every single day.
And people taking that prenatally will also cause
absolutely terrible harm
in their babies.
Absolutely.
So any abuse of any kind of drug, and I don't want to say that marijuana is necessarily a drug, but it could be considered.
It is a drug that God gave us.
Because
it says it right here. It's a medicine.
Right.
It says it in my. It says it right here in my guidebook for life. It says that the leaves are medicine.
So, do you see yourself taking cannabis oil until God calls you home, until your final day? Now,
I hope
your son cannot take it at all. Is that what you're saying?
I won't allow him to try it.
But why, if you're in favor of it?
Because he's on government assistance.
Okay.
And I'm terrified that he might go to jail. And he can't speak. I'm his mouth.
Okay. All right. So there are extenuating circumstances.
There are extenuating circumstances.
Why do you?
I'm willing to take the chance, and if they want to take me to jail for this, then so be it. But no, I will never ever try it with my son until it becomes legal.
Why do you think you're okay to drive? If certain amounts of marijuana and cannabis oil in this case cause a little bit of a euphoric feeling in you, you're not totally there, right? Would you say you're not totally in charge of all your faculties?
I feel like I am
do.
Now.
So you don't feel like
not anymore. The first couple of weeks I would not drive.
Okay.
Just the same thing with any other medication that they give me. That says this may affect your know how this drug affects you before you operate machinery.
Right.
Most any drug you get will say that. And so I did. I waited to see how is this going to affect me before I operate machinery. And I was also a professional truck driver for 16 years.
So you're a pretty good driver.
I'm a pretty good driver anyway. But I've not had any problems. I'm not having any difficulty. I don't feel high.
What does your doctor say the prognosis is? Again, I mean, you've lived for 40 months when you're supposed to live for 6 months. And you're thinking that the cannabis is not only palliative to help with the pain, but you think that it's also maybe curative. Is there a cure in store for you, do you think?
I don't think there's a cure in store for me here.
Okay.
Well, I don't know that. God gives us miracles every single day, and He may very well cure me here.
He does.
I do believe I'm going to be cured. I just don't know if it's going to be here or there.
Well, I love that, Maria, to be able to say, and I mean, you are just so full of Jesus. It's just so cool to see you. But truthfully, when I pray for healing for people, I don't know if I'm praying for their spiritual healing or if I'm praying for a physical healing here on earth. But I know that ultimately God is going to give you complete healing in your life. Right. So what would you say to people listening today, Maria, who are saying, oh my goodness, this lady is way out there. She is taking marijuana. She's not smoking it, but she would if she could. But she is taking the cannabis oil, and she's feeling better, because you'd be in enormous pain. Would you not agree?
I have 7 tumors in my rib cage. I have 1 in my sternum. I have both breasts. I have my liver is just
You're filled with cancer.
With it.
Right.
I'm filled with it. I would be in a lot of pain. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't take my narcotics occasionally, because occasionally I do have breakthrough pain that the cannabis oil is not taking care of. So I do occasionally have to take it. But when I do, it's not a very pretty sight. And I try to actually go in my room and close the door, because I'm ashamed, because I've never been one to drink alcohol or do that sort of thing, and so I don't
Maria,
like feeling like that.
Until I have walked in your shoes and experienced the kind of pain that you have obviously, physical pain that you have obviously felt, I think I'd be the last person, and our viewers, I'm sure, would concur with this as well, that we can't judge you and we cannot say that what you're doing is right or wrong, because you're being led of the Holy Spirit. And if God led you to, as ridiculous as this might sound, viewers, you can write me, you can email, you can disagree. We can disagree in love. God led you to a doctor who said, this is something that's going to be helpful to you. And you believed it and you did it, and it is.
She didn't say it would be helpful. She said it could be.
Okay.
And she said, you have my blessings. Mm-hmm. You have my blessings to try this, and if it helps you, by all means, keep it up.
Okay. So do you think it's only for the terminal? I think I asked you that already. You think anybody who is having a big enough problem should be able to,
absolutely,
to do this?
Because I think that God put this here for our use.
Right.
And I just, they're in the labs now trying to recreate this and try to give us synthetic cannabis.
Okay.
Right now, I'm prescribed Marinol, which is synthetic THC.
Okay.
My question is, why didn't God get it right the first time?
Yeah, He did, right?
Why do we need the scientist in here to perfect His creation?
Right.
I think I think God did okay, and I don't think we need the scientist tweaking anything.
So what would you say to the viewer out there who is looking at you like you're a wackadoodle for doing this?
Oh, well, I hope you don't think I'm a wackadoodle. I hope you would take my position into consideration and what I'm going through into consideration and do some research.
Maria, you are too cute. I praise God for your life, and I thank you for your testimony. I don't know everything there is to know about it. I don't understand it because, again, I have not walked in your shoes. Interestingly enough, the viewers might not believe me, but maybe you will, because you know that I'm pretty old. But in college, I was never offered a marijuana joint. I never went to a party where there was marijuana, so I don't get it. I don't understand it. But again, because I've never been in the kind of excruciating pain that you've been in, I would have to say that I would have to be open to being in a position where I would look for God's leading if I were in a position like yours. Know that I love you.
Thank you.
I don't judge you. I think you're adorable.
Oh, bless you.
I can't even believe that I'm sitting here talking to someone who has stage 4 cancer that is in every organ of your body, and you're talking like you're talking.
Thank you so much.
Well,
it's all God. To God be all the glory.
It is God, and I just thank you so much again. Maria Greenfield, I'm sure that she would love to talk to you. If you have questions about her, we can get you in touch with her via her Facebook. And again, we just need to research, we need to do our homework, and we need to be in a position of influence with other people and to not just carte blanche say something is right or wrong without seeking God's help, His guidance, His wisdom, and His discernment. So God bless you. Thanks again for being here. You just heard the life-changing story of Maria Greenfield's battle to manage her pain. Maria uses cannabis oil to help her, even though it's illegal in the state of Florida. The debate over cannabis oil's effectiveness is a hotly contested one. In this next segment, we have an attorney and a doctor who is an addiction specialist debate the merits and legal ramifications of this controversial substance. You know, this is a medical educational type program today, and what we want to do is to be able to enlighten each other and to give us a better understanding of really what it means to, is it decriminalizing marijuana? Are we legalizing medical marijuana? There's a lot of confusion. And Dr. Huckabee, your job today is to help us understand it better.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you invited me on your show. I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh.
And it is a very controversial topic.
It is.
I went into medicine to help people.
Right.
I have a compassion for helping people. But at the same time, I'm a scientist. And I recognize that we must have some type of process where we can begin to examine these medicines to assure public safety. Otherwise, we start practicing shamanistic medicine.
Yes.
Not real medicine.
Because right now, the Food and Drug Administration has not seen the benefits of medicinal marijuana, right?
That's true. We currently have some marijuana-derived medicines that are available, and
Charlotte's Web.
Charlotte's Web.
Okay.
It's not really the ones that are available is dronabinol, Marinol, and the most recent one is Sativex, that is currently in phase 2 trials. Charlotte's Web is a type of marijuana that's already approved in the state of Florida.
Right.
The Charlotte's Web is a type of marijuana that has a very high CBD content and a very low THC content. And so it does not produce the sustained
euphoria
and high.
Yes. So what are some of the ways that we need to be regulating it if it does become a part of a legislated law?
Well, first of all, it shouldn't be smoked. It should be used through oils or through pills or through some breathalyzer.
Okay.
Secondly, it should be non-euphoric. That means if the purpose is getting high, then that kind of distorts the medicinal aspect of it in some ways. Is there some FDA approval or some medical process? I think in the Charlotte's Web instance, actually UCF or one of the universities did studies on it to make sure that it's safe. I mean, we're talking about something we're just kind of, we wouldn't do that with any other drug, but yet here we're just kind of promoting this randomly as if it's, not going to have any consequences. And then finally, is it done through a statute, which is the appropriate way to regulate something like this, or are we trying to make it a fundamental right, which creates all kinds of problems?
Now, one of the big problems has been that the Food and Drug Administration has had difficulty because of its classification as a Scheduled I drug. That really limits the ways that it can be researched and explored in terms of its medicinal properties. And maybe we need to change that. But technically, it's not really a medicine, technically.
Well, the first thing is we have a process for drugs. It's the Food and Drug Administration. I mean, that's the first thing. So there needs to be a legitimacy. This has to be a scientific thing. It can't just be something we're just kind of throwing into the Constitution. And so the first thing I think that all the sheriffs agree upon and the Drug-Free Council agrees upon, and most responsible people is, look, if you're advocating you're smoking your medicine, that's not legitimate, okay? But the bottom line is that if you're smoking your drugs, that's not good policy. That's not even good medicine. And most people that are responsible would agree with that. And there are some doctors that would reject this completely. I do think there's legitimacy to it. There's a very conservative part of the medical profession that doesn't like alternative medicine, so I think that maybe accounts for the variance in that.
And I can tell you, I am not an attorney. I'm not a legislator. I'm not a politician. I'm a doctor who takes care of people.
Yes.
And I see things sometimes from a totally different perspective, particularly with the patient population I have, which is mostly people who are addicted to substances.
Right.
And so it's very concerning that we're going to allow the legalization of another substance which has addictive properties.
Right. Let's talk just a minute about some of the benefits, because we know that there are negatives, there are dangers to every drug, really. People can die from any kind of drug. People can have adverse effects to any drug, but there are so many benefits as well. And, just talking to some, do you know anybody who's used cannabis oil or anybody who has really reaped the benefits of marijuana?
I do. And I don't want to obviously, talk personally, but I do know of a young lady who's in very, very severe pain, and because of her physician's treatment, and he has to treat her kind of behind the scenes, really almost improperly in legal sense, because he's trying to do what's best for his patient.
But to be fair, there are people that have been helped by marijuana. So the real question is medical marijuana. How is that different from regular marijuana? I mean, that's a legitimate question we should ask. And I say that marijuana technically is not a medicine. Now, a lot of people get upset with me when I say that, but it's a plant that may have medicinal properties. We just do not know all of those ramifications yet.
John, are there any concerns of yours? Because I know in some of the little bit that I have read is that marijuana and even the medicinal use of it is addictive. How do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, there are many drugs that are addictive and have addictive qualities to it. Exactly.
Right.
And so that's an issue that has to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. But again, if the government is properly regulating, if the FDA is involved, if there are kind of those safety measures, then it just becomes like any other policy in terms of regulating these things. And there is a concern, you talked about at recreational use, there is a concern. I mean, in California, Governor Jerry Brown, he's the most liberal governor in the country. He's saying now, he's wondering if it's a mistake. He said it's actually affecting their economy because so many people are high all the time. And this is coming from California. So we need to look at these states like Colorado where this is played out. It's not good. I mean, there are more marijuana dispensaries in Colorado than there are Starbucks and McDonald's put together.
Because right now, the Food and Drug Administration has not seen the benefits of medicinal marijuana, right?
That's true, because to date, there are no real research evidence that has pointed toward any real, medicinal benefits from marijuana.
Well, you sent me an article that I read with a great deal of interest because there are some things on here that I had never heard before, and you talk about the dangers of even medical marijuana, and that is paranoia and increased anxiety, less productivity in the workplace, prenatal problems that would cause psychoses later on in adulthood. So there are a lot of dangers. Is that why the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, has not approved this? All of these different dangers? Is that part of the reason?
These are concerns about medical marijuana and about any type of marijuana.
Okay.
I do not know the exact reason why the FDA hasn't approved it. I think that we just do not have enough research. Within the next 20 years, will we have enough research? Maybe, maybe not.
I hope you enjoyed our time with Maria Greenfield. Her story touched my heart. I'm always reminded that until we've walked in someone's shoes, and her journey with stage 4 cancer is difficult and it's a challenging journey, we can't really make a judgment call about how we would respond or what choices we might make. And I'm so glad that we had the perspectives from our attorney John Stemberger and our doctor guest Tim Huckabee. Lots of good food for thought surrounding the very important issue of the legalization of medical marijuana. Thanks so much for joining us on this compelling, life-changing story. God bless you.